The mall Santa had kind eyes. That was Myra's first thought as she stumbled backward into his lap, champagne sloshing from her plastic flute onto his red velvet suit. "I am so sorry," she began, but then she saw him. Derek, her ex-boyfriend. The one who dumped her 3 weeks before Christmas because she was too impulsive and didn't think things through. He was 20 feet away at the pretzel stand, arm draped around a blonde who looked like she'd never made an impulsive decision in her life. Myra's blood turned to ice, then immediately to fire. "Please kiss me," she whispered urgently to the Santa, whose lap she was still occupying. "My ex is watching, and I need him to think I've moved on spectacularly." The man's eyebrows rose above his fake beard. "I don't think." "I'll give you $50. 100. Please, he's looking over here and I cannot. Let him see me alone at a mall Santa setup with wine from the Bath and Body Works holiday event." "Young lady." $200. That's my final offer. Please, I'm begging you." The Santa sighed deeply, and Myra could have sworn she heard actual sleigh bells in the sound. "I am trying," he said with infinite patience, "to tell you that I'm not actually the mall Santa. I'm filling in for 15 minutes while he takes a bathroom break. My name is Nicholas Saint. I'm the new priest at Holy Family Church downtown." Myra's champagne flute slipped from her fingers. Behind them, a photographer's flash went off. Some child's mother had just captured what would become the most viral Christmas photo of the year. A horrified woman in a glittery party dress, sitting on a priest's lap, alcohol soaking into religious outerwear. Derek was definitely watching now. Chapter 1. The Mortification of Myra Bennett. The thing about rock bottom, Myra would later reflect, is that it has a basement. She thought rock bottom was Derek breaking up with her at Olive Garden, returning the necklace she'd given him across a basket of breadsticks. She'd been wrong. Rock bottom was this, sitting on a priest's lap in a shopping mall, smelling of Bath and Body Works, twisted peppermint body spray and cheap champagne, while her ex-boyfriend watched her unravel in real time. "I'm going to die," she whispered. "Actually die, right here. They'll find my body in the North Pole photo backdrop." Nicholas Saint, Father Nicholas Saint, her brain screamed, gently guided her to standing. He was tall, she noticed with the distant part of her brain that wasn't actively planning her escape to Argentina. Probably mid-30s, with dark hair going silver at the temples and the kind of face that belonged in Renaissance paintings. The fake white beard hung askew from one ear. "You're not going to die," he said calmly, brushing champagne droplets from his borrowed suit. "Though you might want to avoid the internet for a few days." "Oh God," Myra covered her face. "Oh God, I just took the Lord's name in vain in front of a priest. Add it to the list of my sins, right below attempted bribery of clergy." His laugh surprised her, warm and genuine, nothing like the judgment she'd expected. "I've heard much worse, I assure you. Last week, someone confessed to stealing their neighbor's Amazon packages for 6 months. That's actually terrible. The point being," he continued, adjusting the crooked beard, "your crime of mistaken identity ranks fairly low on the cosmic scale of wrongdoing. Saint Nicholas himself was known for his spontaneous generosity. Some might call it impulsive." Myra's head snapped up. There was something in his tone, not mockery, but gentle correction, as if he'd somehow heard Derek's parting words echoing in her head for 3 weeks straight. "The historical Saint Nicholas," Father Nicholas continued, apparently unbothered by her starring, "once threw bags of gold through a window to save 3 sisters from poverty. No planning, no committee meetings, just immediate compassion. The church celebrates him not despite his impetuousness, but because of his decisive love." Something cracked open in Myra's chest, small but significant. "Is this a sermon?" she asked weakly. "This is me telling you that impulse and thoughtlessness aren't the same thing." His eyes were genuinely kind, she realized, the kind of kind that made you want to be better. One comes from the heart, the other from the absence of one. Behind them, a child began crying for Santa. The real Santa emerged from the food court restrooms, looking harried. Father Nicholas started removing the red coat. "I should go." "Wait," Myra said. and it was definitely her heart talking now, not her head. How do I make this right? Chapter 2. The Casserole of Redemption. The photo went viral in under 3 hours. Myra discovered this when her phone started buzzing like an angry hornet, notifications flooding in faster than she could silence them. Her mother called, then her sister, then her mother again, then people she hadn't spoken to since middle school started sending her screenshots with crying, laughing emojis. The picture was everywhere. Her, in that ridiculous glittery dress, sitting on a priest's lap, champagne bottle visible in the corner of the frame, her face frozen in an expression of pure horror. Someone had captioned it, "When you ask Santa for a man for Christmas," with about 15 fire emojis. By 9 p.m., Myra was on her apartment floor in reindeer pajamas, surrounded by 3 empty ice cream containers and approximately 1 million crumpled tissues. Her phone lay face down on the coffee table, still buzzing with the persistence of a dying wasp. She turned it off twice. It hadn't helped. The damage was done. By morning, everyone at work would know. Her aunt in Florida would know. Derek definitely knew because she'd gotten a text from him that just said, "Wow, Myra," before she'd buried her phone under a couch cushion. The doorbell rang. Myra considered pretending to be dead. She considered actually being dead. Instead, she dragged herself upright and shuffled to the door, fully prepared to tell whatever delivery person or concerned neighbor to please leave her to die in peace. Father Nicholas stood in her hallway, holding a casserole dish. "How did you find me?" Myra croaked. "You dropped your driver's license when you dropped your champagne." He held up the small plastic card. "I tried calling, but your phone appears to be deceased." "Murdered? I murdered my phone." She stared at the casserole. "Is that for me, or are you here to deliver last rites?" His mouth twitched. "It's chicken tetrazzini. My housekeeper, Mrs. Henderson, saw the photo making the rounds and insisted I bring you this. She has a firm belief that public humiliation requires carbohydrates." Despite herself, despite everything, Myra felt a laugh bubble up. "Your housekeeper is a genius. She raised 7 children and 3 foster kids. She's seen worse than viral photos, I promise." He paused, shifting the dish slightly. "May I come in? I know this is irregular, but I promise I'm not here to make things weirder. I bring casseroles to half the parish every week. You just happen to be on tonight's route." Myra stepped aside, too exhausted to argue. Father Nicholas entered her small apartment and took in the scene with the calm assessment of someone who'd walked into countless personal crises. He set the casserole on the kitchen counter, glanced at the ice cream graveyard, and settled onto her couch with unexpected ease. "Rough evening?" he asked. "I'm a meme, Father. An actual internet meme. Do you know what that means? Every Christmas for the rest of my life, someone's going to recognize me as Mall Santa Girl." "Actually," he said, and something about his tone made her look up, "I did some reading. Most viral moments last about 3 days before the internet moves on to the next disaster. By Sunday, someone else will do something embarrassing, and you'll fade into blessed obscurity." Myra blinked. "You researched viral internet culture, for me." "I also looked up how to comfort someone who's gone viral. The consensus was, bring food, be present, and never say it could be worse." His smile was gentle. "How am I doing?" Something warm bloomed in Myra's chest, pushing past the humiliation. "Honestly, you're doing suspiciously well for a priest who got dragged into internet infamy because of me." "About that," Father Nicholas leaned forward, his expression turning serious. "I need to ask you something important, and I need you to really think before you answer." Myra's heart stuttered. "Okay. How would you feel about leaning into this, together?" Chapter 3. The St. Nicholas Plan. Myra stared at him. "I'm sorry, did you just suggest we lean into me accidentally propositioning a priest on camera?" "Not exactly." Father Nicholas pulled out his phone and showed her the screen. "My church has been struggling. Attendance is down, donations are barely covering utilities, and our Christmas charity drive is significantly underfunded. We were supposed to collect toys and coats for 300 children in the community. As of today, we have enough for maybe 70. Myra looked at the photos he was scrolling through. A beautiful old church with peeling paint, empty collection baskets, a donation thermometer barely filled. That's heartbreaking, but I don't see how my public humiliation helps. You're not the only one in that photo, he said gently. Since it went viral, I've had 47 emails, 16 phone calls, and my church's website has had more traffic in 6 hours than it's had all year. People are curious. They want to know about the priest in the Santa suit. Understanding dawned slowly. You want to use the attention. I want to use it for good. He leaned forward, and Myra noticed his eyes weren't just kind. They were passionate, alive with purpose. The real Saint Nicholas didn't just give gifts anonymously. He fought injustice, protected children, helped the poor. He was a bishop who used whatever means necessary to spread love in practical ways, even if those means were unconventional. Like throwing gold through windows, Myra said, remembering his earlier story. Exactly. He saw need and met it immediately, reputation be damned. Father Nicholas smiled. We could do something similar, a Christmas charity campaign. The Mall Santa Redemption Drive. We acknowledge the absurdity, we lean into the humor, but we redirect the attention to the children who need help. Myra's marketing brain, dormant since the photo scandal, suddenly flickered to life. That could actually work. People love a redemption story, especially at Christmas. I know this asks a lot of you, he continued. You'd have to be public about it, appear at events, probably endure more jokes and memes. But Mrs. Henderson always says that God has a sense of humor, and sometimes our biggest mistakes become our greatest opportunities to serve others. Mrs. Henderson sounds like a fortune cookie, Myra said, but her mind was already spinning. We'd need a social media presence, maybe a video explaining what happened, making fun of ourselves before others can. Show that we're in on the joke. You'd be willing to do that. Myra thought about the 3 weeks she'd spent obsessing over Derek's words, believing that her impulsiveness was a fatal flaw. She thought about sitting alone in her apartment, drowning in ice cream and shame. Then she thought about 300 children who might not have warm coats this winter. The real Saint Nicholas acted on compassion without overthinking it, right? She asked. That's the historical record, yes. Then maybe Derek was wrong. Maybe acting from the heart isn't a character defect. She met Father Nicholas's gaze. Maybe it's exactly what the world needs. His smile could have lit the entire apartment. Does that mean you're in? On one condition, Myra said. You have to stop calling me young lady and start calling me Myra. If we're going to be viral charity partners, we should at least be on a first-name basis. Deal. He extended his hand, and when Myra shook it, she felt a spark that had nothing to do with static electricity and everything to do with the way he looked at her, like she was capable of extraordinary things. So, she said, reluctantly releasing his hand, when do we start? Tomorrow, there's a morning news show that wants to interview us. They called it the Mall Santa Mystery. I told them I'd have to check with my partner first. He stood, retrieving his coat. Think you can face the cameras? Myra thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Father Nicholas. Yes. Call me Nick, he said softly. When we're not in public, you can call me Nick. Something warm and dangerous bloomed in Myra's chest. A priest who brought casseroles and called himself Nick and looked at her like she mattered. This was either the best or worst thing that could happen to her Christmas. Okay, Nick, she said, testing the name. Let's go save Christmas. Chapter 4. Good Morning, Viral Sensation. The morning show green room smelled like hairspray and anxiety. Myra sat in a makeup chair, watching a stylist attempt to tame her hair into something camera-ready, while Nick paced near the coffee station in his clerical collar and nervously adjusting his glasses. He'd worn glasses. This was new information that Myra's heart had no business getting excited about. You're fidgeting, she observed. I don't fidget, I'm strategically moving. You've circled that coffee pot 4 times, that's fidgeting. Myra grinned at him in the mirror. Nervous. I've given homilies to hundreds of people. I shouldn't be nervous about a simple interview. But you are. He stopped packing and met her eyes in the reflection. I don't want to mess this up. For the kids, I mean. We have one shot to make people care." The makeup artist stepped back, declaring Myra camera ready, and suddenly they were alone in the small room. Myra stood and walked over to where Nick had finally stopped moving. "Here's what I know about you so far," she said. "You fill in for mall Santas on your lunch break. You research viral internet culture to comfort strangers. You bring casseroles to people who humiliate you publicly. And you're willing to get laughed at on national television if it means helping 300 kids have a better Christmas." She straightened his collar, trying not to notice how close they were standing. "You're going to be fine. Better than fine. You're going to be amazing." His eyes searched hers. "How are you so sure?" "Because people can always tell when someone actually cares. And Nick," she smiled, "you care so much it's practically radioactive." Before he could respond, a production assistant burst through the door. "You're up in 2 minutes." The interview was surreal. The host, a woman named Brenda with teeth so white they could guide ships to shore, introduced them with barely contained glee. "You've seen the photo that broke the internet. Now meet the people behind it. Please welcome Father Nicholas Saint and Myra Bennett." The audience applauded like they were celebrities, instead of viral accident victims. Brenda leaned forward conspiratorially. "So, Myra, I have to ask, what were you thinking?" Myra had practiced this. She and Nick had rehearsed answers at midnight in her apartment over reheated tetrazzini. But now, under the lights, with Nick sitting beside her radiating quiet support, she decided to go off script. "I was thinking my ex-boyfriend was watching, and I was desperate to look like I'd moved on spectacularly." The audience laughed. "I was thinking that champagne from Bath and Body Works should come with warning labels. But mostly, I was thinking that I'd rather be impulsive and messy than careful and cold." Nick's hand found hers under the table, just for a second, just long enough to say, "I'm here." "And Father Nicholas," Brenda continued, "you must have been shocked." "I was trying to tell her I wasn't the mall Santa," Nick said, with that gentle humor Myra was beginning to crave like oxygen. "But Myra is very determined when she sets her mind to something." "Which brings us to why you're really here." Brenda's tone shifted, becoming genuine. "You're turning this viral moment into something beautiful." Nick straightened, and Myra watched him transform. This was Father Nicholas now, the priest, the leader, the man who fought for his community. Saint Nicholas of Myra, the historical figure behind Santa Claus, was known for his radical generosity, he said. He didn't wait for permission to help people. He saw suffering and he acted immediately. That's what we're asking people to do now. We have 300 children in our community who need winter coats, toys, and hope. We're calling it the Mall Santa Redemption Drive, and every donation goes directly to families who need it most. The camera cut to footage of Holy Family Church, the empty donation bins, the children who would benefit. Myra felt her throat tighten. "Sometimes," Nick continued, his voice soft but certain, "God uses our most embarrassing moments to teach us what really matters. I'm grateful that photo went viral, because now we have a chance to show people that Christmas isn't about perfection. It's about showing up for each other, even when it's messy." When Brenda read out the donation website, Myra pulled out her phone. The counter was already climbing. $300, $800, $1,500. By the time they left the studio, they'd raised $23,000. In the parking lot, Myra turned to Nick, breathless with possibility. "Did that just happen?" "I think it did." He was smiling, really smiling, and Myra realized with dangerous clarity that she was in serious trouble. "Nick." "Yes. I think I'm starting to believe in Christmas miracles." He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his brown eyes. "Myra, I should tell you something." His phone rang, then hers, then his again. The interview had gone viral for all the right reasons, and Christmas, it seemed, was just getting started. Chapter 5, The Gift of St. Nicholas. 3 weeks later, on Christmas Eve, Myra stood in Holy Family Church watching 300 children receive winter coats, toys, and gift cards for groceries. The donation drive had exceeded everyone's wildest expectations, raising over $200,000. The church was packed, transformed by volunteers and community members who'd shown up to help distribute gifts. Mrs. Henderson, Nick's legendary housekeeper, squeezed Myra's arm. "You did good, sweetheart, real good." "Nick did this," Myra corrected. "I just helped." "Oh, honey," Mrs. Henderson chuckled. "You've done a lot more than help. That man hasn't smiled this much in the 5 years I've known him." Myra's heart did something complicated. Over the past 3 weeks, she and Nick had spent nearly every day together organizing donations, doing interviews, coordinating with families. They'd laughed until they cried. They'd debated theology and marketing strategies over coffee. They'd developed a rhythm, a partnership that felt effortless and terrifying all at once. But he was still Father Nicholas, still a priest, still completely, impossibly unavailable. "Myra," a small voice called out. 7-year-old Emma, wearing her new purple coat, ran up and hugged Myra's legs. "Look, it fits perfect." "It's beautiful," Myra said, kneeling down. "You look like a purple princess." "Father Nick says you're the reason we have Christmas this year." "Father Nick gives me too much credit. He says you taught him that the best miracles are messy." Emma grinned, gap-toothed and glowing. "What's that mean?" Before Myra could answer, she spotted Derek across the room. Her ex-boyfriend stood near the entrance with his perfect girlfriend, looking uncomfortable in a church he'd clearly been dragged to. Their eyes met. Myra waited for the old hurt to surface. Instead, she felt only a distant gratitude. Derek had been right about one thing: she was impulsive, but he'd been catastrophically wrong about it being a flaw. Derek started walking toward her, and Myra braced herself. "Hey," he said awkwardly. This is really impressive, Myra." "Thank you. I saw all the interviews, the fundraising. You turned that whole mall thing into something good." He shifted his weight. "I was wrong about what I said. You're not thoughtless. You're just brave enough to act when other people would overthink it." It was the apology she desperately wanted 3 weeks ago. Now it felt like receiving a sweater in the wrong size, technically kind, but ultimately irrelevant. "I appreciate that, Derek, really." Myra smiled genuinely. "I hope you have a Merry Christmas." She walked away before he could say more. And it felt like flying. Nick found her near the nativity scene, staring at the ceramic figure of Saint Nicholas among the shepherds. "You added him," she said, pointing to the figure. "Mrs. Henderson's idea. She said if we're honoring his legacy, we should include him in the story." Nick stood beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "How are you doing?" Derek apologized. And I realized I don't need his validation anymore. Turns out helping 300 kids have a better Christmas is significantly more fulfilling than winning an argument with an ex-boyfriend. She turned to face him. "Funny how that works." Nick's expression was unreadable. "Myra, about what I tried to tell you after the interview." "You don't have to," she said quickly. "I know, you're a priest. This," she gestured between them, "whatever this is, it can't go anywhere. I understand. I'm not expecting anything. I just want you to know that these 3 weeks have been some of the best of my life, even if this is all they can be." Myra stopped talking. His voice was gentle but firm. "Please." She stopped. Nick took a breath. "I wasn't always a priest. 5 years ago, I was engaged. Her name was Catherine. 2 months before our wedding, she died in a car accident." His voice cracked slightly. "I was angry, lost. I joined the seminary thinking I could outrun the grief, that serving God would fill the emptiness. And it helped. It gave me purpose. But I've been going through the motions, doing the work without really feeling it." Myra's eyes filled with tears. "Nick. Then you fell into my lap, literally, absurdly, and reminded me what it feels like to be fully alive." He reached for her hand. "You taught me that Saint Nicholas's love wasn't just theological. It was messy and immediate and human. You made me laugh. You made me hope. You made me remember that serving God isn't about perfection. It's about showing up with your whole imperfect heart." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I've been praying a lot, talking to my bishop, thinking about what God is actually calling me to do." He squeezed her hand. "I'm saying that priesthood is a vocation, and it's beautiful, but it's not the only way to serve. Some people are called to it forever, and some people are called to it for a season until they learn what they need to learn. Myra's heart stopped. Nick, I'm not making any rash decisions. I'm going to finish out this year. Do this properly with reflection and prayer and pastoral counseling. But Myra, his eyes were bright with something that looked dangerously like hope. I wanted you to know, in case you were willing to wait, in case you felt even a fraction of what I'm feeling. Which is that maybe God has a bigger sense of humor than we thought. That maybe he brought us together in the most ridiculous way possible, because he knew we both needed to learn that love, real love, is supposed to be a little bit messy. Myra laughed through her tears. You're leaving the priesthood, for me. I'm discerning a different path, one where I can still serve God, still help people, but maybe also, if you're interested, take you to dinner without it being a theological crisis. That's the most romantic thing anyone has ever said to me, and it's still somehow about avoiding theological crises. Nick grinned. I'm a work in progress. Around them, Christmas music played. Children laughed. Mrs. Henderson was almost certainly watching from somewhere with a knowing smile. And Myra realized that this was what the real Saint Nicholas must have felt, the wild joy of giving something precious away and receiving something even more valuable in return. So, Nick said softly, what do you think? Will you wait for me? Myra pretended to consider it. I don't know, I'm pretty impulsive. I might run off with the next priest I see. There's another one. She kissed his cheek, quick and brave and absolutely perfect. Just you, Nick, only ever you. In the distance, someone started singing Silent Night. The children gathered around the nativity scene, their new coats bright against the soft church lights. And Myra thought that maybe, just maybe, impulsive decisions made with an open heart weren't mistakes at all. They were exactly what the world needed.